What happens when the son of one of hip-hop's most calculated, articulate moguls completely spirals out of control in front of millions? For years, the world has watched King Harris, the son of rap legend T.I., make headlines for his rebellious antics, club altercations, and explosive internet arguments with his own parents. But behind the flashy jewelry, the defensive internet rants, and the aggressive posturing, a much darker, devastating reality was quietly brewing in the shadows. A reality that has now left the self-proclaimed King of the South completely paralyzed with shock. This isn't just another case of a rich celebrity kid acting out for clout. This is a confession that shifted the entire dynamic of the Harris household. King Harris recently broke his silence, pulling back the curtain on a brutal, hidden battle with severe alcohol addiction. A dependency so aggressive that it threatened to tear his life apart before it even truly began. But the real kicker? His legendary father, Clifford T.I. Harris, had absolutely no idea how deep the roots of this trauma actually ran. Imagine dominating the music industry, building a multi-million-dollar empire, and prides yourself on being an omnipresent, strict disciplinarian father, only to realize you completely missed the life-threatening crisis unfolding right under your own roof. The revelation hasn't just stunned fans. It has completely shattered the family's polished public image, exposing deep-rooted emotional scars, communication breakdowns, and a terrifying cry for help that went ignored for far too long. How did a 19-year-old boy, raised in absolute luxury, fall into such a suffocating trap? Why was Tip entirely blindsided by his own son's toxic coping mechanism? And what happened behind closed doors when the cameras finally stopped rolling? Buckle up, because we are stripping away the internet rumors to dissect the raw, untold truth behind King Harris's harrowing journey through dependency, the explosive confrontation that shook his family to its core, and the devastating reality of growing up under the suffocating shadow of a hip-hop icon. To truly comprehend how a 19-year-old found himself trapped in the suffocating cycle of dependency, we have to rewind the tape and look at the environment that shaped him. King Harris didn't grow up in a vacuum. He grew up in front of millions of television screens. As a child star on reality TV, his tantrums, his milestones, and his early signs of stubbornness were packaged as Friday night entertainment. But living in a household run by a man as fiercely protective, articulate, and fiercely authoritative as T.I. comes with an invisible, immense pressure. Clifford Harris is a man who commands every room he enters. He speaks with a vocabulary that demands respect, and he runs his family with the precision of a corporate military general. For King, finding an individual identity under that massive shadow became an immediate, desperate uphill battle. As King transitioned from a teenager into early adulthood, his public persona drastically shifted. The cute, defiant kid from reality television transformed into an aggressive, confrontational internet personality. We watched him get into screaming matches on Instagram Live, threaten restaurant staff over minor miscommunications, and violently clash with his father in the suite of a major football game. An incident that went viral for all the wrong reasons. To the casual observer, King looked like a spoiled, privileged celebrity brat desperately trying to manufacture a street credibility he never actually needed. The internet mocked him, memes were created, and hip-hop commentators labeled him a liability to his father's legacy. But what the public completely misdiagnosed as an identity crisis for internet clout was actually a desperate mask. It was a loud, chaotic cover-up for a terrifying internal reality. Behind the scenes, away from the bright smartphone cameras and the defensive social media rants, King was actively drowning. He wasn't just partying like a typical young adult experiencing newfound freedom. He was self-medicating. The constant public scrutiny, the agonizing pressure to live up to the grand hustle empire, and the internal feelings of inadequacy had manifested into a severe, daily reliance on alcohol. Beat slows down, adding a deep bass echo. Cut to screenshots of King's recent interviews where his demeanor is unusually quiet, vulnerable, and reflective, contrasting his usual energetic self. What makes this situation completely tragic is how easily the addiction disguised itself. In the world of hip-hop and high-end teenage lifestyle, pouring up drinks, celebrating in VIP sections, and carrying premium bottles is normalized, even glorified. For a long time, King's constant drinking was viewed by his peers as just a normal part of the fast-paced, lavish lifestyle he was born into. If he was stumbling, it was brushed off as having a good time. If his moods shifted rapidly, it was blamed on his hot temper. No one around him, from his immediate circle to his industry acquaintances, stopped to realize that this wasn't social drinking. It had become a non-negotiable survival mechanism for his mental state. King recently admitted that the dependency became so intense that it controlled his daily cognitive functions. He wasn't drinking to celebrate. He was drinking to feel numb. Numb to the comments sections that constantly picked him apart, numb to the expectations of his family, and numb to the terrifying realization that he was losing control of his own life. The alcohol became his escape hatch, but the deeper he fell into it, the more his behavior deteriorated, leading to those highly publicized, erratic outbursts that left fans scratching their heads. He was trapped in a vicious loop. The anxiety drove him to drink, the drink caused him to act out publicly, and the public backlash fueled more anxiety, sending him right back to the bottle. Spliced together clips of T.I. giving interviews about fatherhood, looking confident and in control, emphasizing his strict parenting philosophy. Meanwhile, living just down the hall or a phone call away was T.I., a father who has spent decades navigating the harshest realities of life, prison sentences, and career resurrections. Tip has always prided himself on being an incredibly hands-on parent, a father who talks to his children, not just at them. He felt he had standard operating procedures for every crisis his children could encounter. If there was a legal issue, he knew how to handle it. If there was a financial hurdle, he could fix it. If it was a branding problem, his team could rewrite the narrative. But addiction is a completely different kind of monster. It doesn't abide by the rules of logic, and it thrives exclusively in secrecy. Because King knew exactly how strict his father was, and how deeply T.I. valued discipline, he became a master of concealment. He learned how to mask the scent, how to steady his voice when talking to his parents, and how to project an image of a rebellious but sober young man. King was terrified of disappointing the man who built everything, and that terror forced him to bury his struggle deeper into the dark. This created a massive, silent disconnect inside the Harris mansion. While T.I. believed he was dealing with a standard case of youthful rebellion, a phase where a young man tries to test his boundaries and act tough, he was actually living with someone dealing with a legitimate medical and psychological crisis. Every time T.I. corrected King's behavior or checked him publicly for his antics, he thought he was teaching his son a lesson about accountability and maturity. He had absolutely no baseline understanding that his son wasn't just acting out of malice or arrogance. He was acting out of chemical desperation. Music fades out into a tense, rhythmic heartbeat sound. The screen displays a split image of T.I. looking incredibly stern and King Harris looking downcast during a family meeting. The tension built up silently, month after month, like a pressure cooker with a blocked valve. King's body was becoming increasingly dependent on the substance just to avoid withdrawal, while his emotional maturity was stunted by the constant numbing effect. He was running on empty, operating on a dangerous edge where one wrong move, one excessive night, or one final confrontation could cause the entire fragile structure to collapse. And then the mask finally slipped. The secret that King had meticulously guarded, the burden that was slowly destroying his health and his future, could no longer be contained within the walls of his bedroom or hidden behind defensive Instagram captions. The truth was about to force its way into the light, and the collision between a blindsided hip-hop mogul and his broken son would change the fabric of their family forever. The screen slowly fades to black as the heartbeat sound stops abruptly, leaving a heavy silence. When the truth finally collided with reality, it didn't happen in a quiet, scheduled family therapy session. It shattered the peace of the Harris household like a sudden, violent earthquake. For months, T.I. had operated under the firm assumption that his son's erratic behavior was simply the byproduct of a spoiled, modern internet generation. He truly believed King was just chasing clout, trying to build a tough online persona to distance himself from his wealthy upbringing. But you cannot use standard parenting logic to fix a biological and psychological dependency. The tipping point arrived on a quiet evening behind the closed doors of their Atlanta estate, when a routine conversation about maturity and accountability completely went off the rails, forcing the ugly, hidden reality right into the open. T.I. had pulled King aside, intending to deliver one of his trademark, highly articulate lectures about protecting the family brand and stepping up as a young man. He expected the usual response: King rolling his eyes, sucking his teeth, or getting defensive about his internet presence. Instead, the emotional dam broke entirely. Overwhelmed by the crushing weight of keeping a dark secret, physically exhausted from the constant cycle of intoxication and withdrawal, and mentally broken by the endless public mockery, King cracked. The defensive stance vanished, replaced by a raw, unfiltered confession that left the rap mogul completely paralyzed in his tracks. King admitted the full extent of his severe alcohol addiction, revealing that he wasn't just drinking at parties, he was dependent on it to function daily. The background music shifts to a hollow, echoing piano melody. The visuals show close-ups of T.I.'s face from past interviews where his usual confident expression drops into utter seriousness. For a man like Clifford T.I. Harris, who prides himself on being the ultimate strategist, a man who always has an answer, a blueprint, and a counter-move for every single problem in life, this revelation was an absolute psychological haymaker. Those who know Tip understand that he operates on control. He survived the dangerous streets of Bankhead, overcame massive federal legal battles, and successfully navigated the cutthroat music industry by outthinking everyone around him. He truly believed that his strict household rules, his constant surveillance, and his continuous heart-to-heart talks had created a foolproof shield around his children. To sit across from his own 19-year-old son and hear that a life-threatening addiction had been thriving under his roof, entirely undetected, didn't just break his heart. It shattered his ego. The immediate reaction wasn't anger. It was profound, heavy disbelief. Sources close to the family reveal that T.I. initially struggled to process the information, asking frantic questions, trying to find a logical explanation or an exaggeration in his son's words. He wanted to believe it was just a dramatic statement, a cry for attention, or a phase that could be easily cured with a stern lecture and a gym routine. But as King detailed the physical symptoms, the secret bottles, the morning shakes, and the overwhelming anxiety that drove him to the substance, the reality set in. The King of the South was staring at a battlefield he had absolutely no training to fight on. He had missed the signs, completely misdiagnosed the symptoms, and spent months punishing his son for behavioral problems when the boy was actually screaming for medical and emotional help. Fast cuts of social media comments, negative YouTube thumbnails mocking King Harris, and blogs calling him a disappointment, visually representing the external pressure crushing the family. The realization sent a shockwave through the entire family dynamic. Tiny Harris, King's mother, was equally devastated, caught in the middle of a painful realization that their son had been suffering in silence while the entire world laughed at him online. Every single viral video, every embarrassing Instagram live stream, and every club altercation suddenly looked completely different through this new, terrifying lens. The internet had been treating King like a circus act, a comedy meme of a rich kid acting wild, while in reality, viewers were watching a teenager publicly self-destruct from severe chemical dependency. The guilt within the household was palpable. How had they, with all their resources, security, and wealth, allowed their own child to slip through the cracks of addiction? This confrontation exposed a massive generational communication gap that exists in many households, but was magnified 100 times under the Hollywood spotlight. T.I. comes from an era where survival meant showing zero vulnerability. In the streets of his youth, you didn't talk about anxiety, depression, or emotional trauma. You suppressed it, fought through it, and outworked it. He applied that same old-school, rigid philosophy to his children. When King tried to express discomfort or stress in the past, it was often dismissed as a lack of discipline or an ungrateful attitude given his privileged lifestyle. King felt that he couldn't show weakness to a father who seemed invincible. That fear of appearing weak, of being labeled soft by a hip-hop legend, is precisely what drove King to find comfort in a bottle rather than seeking help from his own parents. The music builds to a tense, unresolved climax. Visuals show a split screen of T.I. and King, looking in opposite directions, symbolizing the emotional distance and misunderstanding between them. The shock quickly evolved into a quiet emergency. The family brand, the upcoming business ventures, and the reality show legacies instantly became completely irrelevant. T.I. was forced to come to terms with his own limitations as a father. He realized that his eloquence, his money, and his street smarts were utterly useless against a disease that alters brain chemistry and hijacks a person's willpower. The household that once echoed with loud arguments, music production, and chaotic reality TV schedules suddenly fell incredibly silent as they faced an uncomfortable, forced moment of truth. But a confession is only the first step in a very long, incredibly dangerous road to recovery. Acknowledging the demon in the room doesn't mean it magically disappears. With the secret finally out in the open, and T.I. forced to swallow his pride and face his deepest failure as a protector, the family had to make a critical choice. Would they handle this crisis in total secrecy to protect their multi-million-dollar public image, or would they allow King to face his healing process openly, regardless of how messy it might look to the public? The immediate aftermath of this confrontation would test the very foundation of the Harris family, setting the stage for a brutal process of rehabilitation, lifestyle changes, and an entirely new way of surviving. The screen slowly darkens as the tense music fades, leaving only the distant, eerie sound of an ambulance siren or camera shutters clicking in the background. With the walls of denial completely torn down, the Harris family entered uncharted territory. The explosive confrontation had cleared the air, but it left behind a fragile emotional landscape that required delicate, intentional rebuilding. For T.I., the shift was monumental. The man who had spent his entire life commanding respect and dictating terms had to learn a completely new skill: how to sit quietly and listen. He had to pack away his lengthy lectures, drop the strict disciplinary persona, and accept that his son didn't need a general. He needed an understanding, empathetic father. The family immediately pivoted away from punishment and focused entirely on creating a structured, supportive environment where King could safely detox and heal away from the toxic influences of his immediate social circle. The first major hurdle on this journey was breaking the physical and psychological dependency that had dictated King's life for so long. Stripping away a substance that has become an emotional crutch is an incredibly painful, turbulent process. King had to face the raw, unmedicated reality of his anxieties, his insecurities, and the heavy public pressure that he had been trying so desperately to numb. It required an absolute lifestyle overhaul. The late-night club appearances, the VIP parties where bottles flowed endlessly, and the hangers-on who enabled his worst habits had to be completely eliminated from his daily routine. T.I. and Tiny stepped in to help enforce these boundaries, ensuring that King's environment was insulated from the very triggers that fueled his initial spiral. Smooth transition to a side-by-side comparison of King's old, chaotic Instagram live videos versus his more recent, grounded public appearances or podcast interviews where he speaks calmly. As the physical fog began to clear, the real work shifted to repairing the fractured relationship between father and son. For years, their interactions had been defined by a constant power struggle, played out under the judgmental gaze of millions of internet critics. King had felt constantly suffocated by his father's massive legacy, while T.I. had felt continuously frustrated by his son's apparent lack of respect for the family name. Through intense, private family conversations and a shared commitment to vulnerability, that toxic dynamic began to change. They had to learn how to communicate without the defensive armor. King began to understand that his father's strictness came from a place of deep fear of losing another loved one to the pitfalls of fame and urban culture. Simultaneously, T.I. had to acknowledge that King's rebellion wasn't an act of disrespect, but a desperate cry to be seen as an individual separate from the Grand Hustle brand. This internal healing process gradually began to reflect in King's public demeanor. The erratic, confrontational teenager who was always one sentence away from an internet fight started to fade away. In his place emerged a far more mature, self-aware young man. When King eventually chose to speak about his struggles, he didn't do it with the old defensive arrogance. He spoke with a quiet humility that stunned both his supporters and his harshest critics. He acknowledged that he had been on a dark path, that he had made terrible mistakes, and that he was actively working every single day to regain control of his life and his health. The internet, which had once ruthlessly mocked him as a privileged disaster, suddenly had to reckon with the reality of a young man fighting a very real, incredibly brave battle for his own survival. The music swells slightly, adding a warm, inspiring layer of acoustic strings. Visuals show recent clips of T.I. and King Harris standing side by side at a public event, smiling genuinely, showing a real, united front. The impact of this journey extended far beyond the walls of the Harris mansion. By addressing King's addiction openly and shifting their approach from public discipline to private rehabilitation, the family sent a powerful message to the entire hip-hop community. In a culture that frequently glorifies substance abuse, excessive drinking, and toxic coping mechanisms, the Harris family chose to highlight the vital importance of mental health, accountability, and parental support. T.I.'s willingness to adapt his parenting style showed that true strength isn't about maintaining absolute control. It's about having the humility to change when the well-being of your child is on the line. They proved that even the most high-profile, scrutinized families can face their darkest demons, survive the public backlash, and emerge stronger on the other side. Today, the road to recovery remains an ongoing, daily commitment for King Harris. Addiction is not a disease that disappears overnight with a single victory. It is a lifelong journey of discipline, self-awareness, and constant vigilance. But the terrifying spiral that once threatened to completely destroy his future has instead become the foundation for his greatest transformation. He is no longer running from his father's shadow, nor is he using a bottle to hide from the world's expectations. With a sober mind, a restored relationship with his parents, and a newfound sense of personal purpose, King is finally learning to define success on his own terms. The background music slowly begins to taper off into a calm, lingering final chord. The screen transitions to a beautiful, high-contrast silhouette shot of T.I. and King walking together into the distance, followed by a clean text overlay of the channel's outro details. The shocking revelation that once paralyzed T.I. with disbelief ultimately saved his son's life. It forced a powerful family to pause, reevaluate their priorities, and remember that no amount of wealth, fame, or legacy is more valuable than the health and survival of your own blood. The Harris family didn't just survive the storm. They allowed it to reshape them into a tighter, more resilient unit, proving that even the deepest wounds can heal when you finally choose to bring the truth into the light. The screen slowly fades to total black as the final note of music fades away completely. King Harris's journey is a powerful reminder that behind the flashy lifestyle, the fame, and the viral social media moments, celebrities face the exact same raw, human battles as the rest of us. It takes immense courage to step out of the shadows, face your demons, and choose the path of recovery, especially when the whole world is watching and waiting for you to fail. But now, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on how T.I. and King handled this incredibly tough situation? Do you think seeing high-profile families address addiction openly can help break the stigma around mental health in hip-hop culture? Drop your thoughts, respect, and perspectives in the comments section below. Let's get a real conversation started. If you appreciated the depth and the flow of this breakdown, make sure to smash that like button right now. It really helps the channel grow and allows us to keep bringing you high-quality, unfiltered deep dives just like this one. Don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another exclusive story. Thank you so much for watching, keep supporting, and we will see you in the very next video.